All right, everybody. Welcome to week 10 here in CU 101 Culinary Foundations. Chef Matthew and I welcome you to another fine live session. Can you guys believe it? Week 10, that rocks, man. 10 out of 12 in the bag almost. Congratulations, everybody. It's got to feel great to have this kind of accomplishment underneath your belt. The first 3 months, I've always thought, were kind of the most difficult because we're teaching you a lot of new habits and telling you to put on aprons and telling you to get, sanitation water and teaching you how to wash your hands and all that kind of good stuff. And it's a little bit like boot camp. And so congratulations. I think this class has done fantastic. The GPA in this class is very good. So Chef Matthew and I have nothing but hats off to all of you for all the hard work that you've done. And as teachers and chefs, it feels so good when your staff begins to do what you intend them to do. And so thank you, everybody, for giving Chef Matthew and I that opportunity to do that. How was everybody's Thanksgiving? Yeah, thumbs up? Thumbs up? Yeah? Awesome. I want to show you guys what I did on Thanksgiving. And this is kind of cool. It is for the lobby of the elementary school where my children attend. And this is what we built over the holiday weekend. And it's 2 feet by 3 feet tall. And it's so big that we were considering putting it onto Airbnb for people to enjoy. But that was our holiday weekend. And so all the kids at the local elementary school now are picking at it, I'm sure. So that's what kids do. Yeah. Hey, week 9, how'd it go for everybody? Yeah. Thumbs up, everybody? Yeah. I know the risotto recipe was a little skewed. We talked about it in the live session last week, that it was one line off, and we still had a couple of people that missed the live session, and I think they ended up with some pretty dry risotto. But we apologize for that being one line off, but it's been fixed since then. How did everybody like the braising? Does anybody want to share their experience with it? How about a volunteer? Jeffrey, what's up, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. I mean, I actually purposely went to the butcher and said, give me your toughest piece of beef that you got.
Uh-huh.
And it was, I will tell you, I cut a piece off and I cooked it normally like I normally would. And it was tough. And I'll tell you, the braising, man, it was tender. By the time I was done, it was falling apart.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, man.
Yeah.
Good experience.
Save me some money. I'm all about saving money. I'm a cheap guy.
Hey, I don't know if it's about saving money or making more money.
Well, that's true too. But the more money I pay out, the more money I got in my pocket. So at the end of the day, I make more money.
Yeah, so. I understand that. Who else had a good time braising? Anybody else? Amber, what happened? Unhook yourself there, girl. What? Oh, how'd it go for you?
It actually went really good.
Uh-huh. What cut did you braise?
I just found I know I really shouldn't have done it, but I found stew meat like used to make stew with.
Uh-huh.
And I shouldn't have done it, but I did because it was the cheapest one I could find.
That's cool, man. It's about taking a bad cut of meat and making it palatable. And it's something that you guys will end up doing in industry quite a bit. At a place that I'm consulting at and helping out at, we braise short ribs. And it's not only effective way of taking a tough cut of meat, making it very tender, very palatable, very flavorful, but it also allows you to pre-cook your food, refrigerate it. When you have an order for it, boom, pop it in the oven and it's ready in about 10 minutes and you've got this awesome tender cut of meat. And people are like, how'd you get that out so quick? And so remember that when you get into the restaurant industry. Pork shoulder is another great one to braise. You could pop that in, leave it in for 6 hours. We do it with prickly pear jelly and some other local ingredients down here. And then when we get an order, boom, you just saute that shredded meat, make great little sliders, all sorts of things. And so the list goes on and on. Yeah.
You know, and
What's that?
Chef, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's about taking a tough cut of meat and making it tender. A lot of times, I think those tougher cuts of meat have better flavor than the more tender cuts. And a lot of chefs agree with me there. Let's take flank steak, for example. I remember when it used to be dirt cheap. Used to be dirt cheap to get flank steak. Now it's expensive because everybody figured out how to cook it.
Yeah. I remember back in the late 1980s, the salesman coming in the back door with flank steak, and he's like, "Please buy this stuff." He couldn't get rid of it. It was like $1 a pound. And, now it's changed. Let's see what's up with Alicia. Alicia, what's up with you? How'd you like the exercise?
I loved it. I liked the sauce. After I did it, I then fried some bone-in pork chops and then smothered it in the sauce.
Delicious. Yeah, that sounds good. Good job. Did the meat come out nice and tender?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Good job. Glad to hear that. What about Crystal?
Hi, Chef. How are you doing?
I'm good, Crystal. How are you?
Doing wonderful. I absolutely loved the braise.
Uh-huh.
I used a beef chuck roast, and then I went ahead and did the half red wine, half beef broth.
Uh-huh.
And it had such a good flavor to it. I wasn't expecting that at all.
You'll be amazed. I mean, if you take the Jeffrey Norton route, you know, where you're taking that lesser cut of meat and then you're making a lot of money off of it, that's amazing what you can do with that meat that I've seen. And, you know, we've done everything from shepherd's pie to beef bourguignon and, you know, names with dishes with fancy names that people pay more money for, but they're actually buying, you know, chuck roast and they don't realize it, but they pay because it's been braised, and it's a really good technique that can be very profitable for your facility in the long run, and it's something we do in restaurants a lot. If you take a look at like pork ribs, baby back pork ribs, 1 3/4 down Danish baby back ribs, you know, if you cook those on your stove, you know, that's a tough cut of meat, right? But if you braise them or you know, cook them in their own liquid, that stuff begins to fall apart and it comes right off the bone. So great comments, everybody. What about the risotto? Who had good success with the risotto? Yeah, Jeffrey did. Awesome. Blake, how about you? You want to share, Blake? Yeah, and Jeanette down there. So yeah, how'd it come out, Blake?
The risotto came out beautiful, nice and creamy and tender. It was really good.
It's kind of cool the way that dish comes out so creamy with no cream.
Well, yeah, it's like you said with the boiling hot stock, and then after I coated the rice and kind of toast a little bit, that you got to because I noticed that first ladle of stock that I put in, where you just watch it just sizzle.
Yeah, it eats it up.
Yeah, right. It came out really good.
Yeah, and risotto is another very, very profitable dish for your restaurant. You can easily put a risotto dish on your menu for $15 to $20. Run a 30% food cost on it. Throw some asparagus in there, some grilled chicken, blackened shrimp, oyster mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, and flavor it up a little bit, and the people just go crazy for it. And you spent $3 on the dish, and you just sold it for $20, so you put $17 in your pocket, and people love it. And what we do in the restaurant industry is we par cook our Oreo rice. So when we get an order, we'll just finish it off in the pan quickly with the customer's choice of accoutrements, and so it can be a lot of fun. I've worked in a place where we've taken braised meat and actually tossed it into the risotto, and you know, you get that extra punch of protein in there and that extra punch of flavor with that creaminess. It just rocks. So easy way to make money to do that. Chef Matthew, what's up, my friend?
Hey, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here. Looks like we have a good full class today. Thanks
Welcome
for
back.
coming in after the holiday.
Yeah. Welcome
Yeah.
back to sunny Indiana, no?
Oh, man.
Bienvenidos.
I was in Orlando for 6 days.
Yeah.
That was too much fun. And did some drinking of wine and some playing around with the kids and having some umbrella drinks at the pool, you know, and then went to Mickey Land for a while and just had a good time.
Good for you. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations. What'd you think about this week? How the assignments looking?
They look really good. I haven't graded that many. I've been yesterday just was a waste because we got stuck in the airport on the way home. So we were there 6 hours on delay. So of course the kids run amok and so does everybody else's kid. So the place was a complete circus and there's no way I could have gotten any grading done.
Right. I know the feeling. Well, welcome back. We're excited that you and happy that you made it back safely.
Thank you.
Especially as my cohort and my partner in crime in this class. So that's very, very important. So Chef Matthew, I know we got a lot of late submissions this time, and it's probably due to the holiday. So everybody, if you just want to be a little bit patient with your assignments, they are coming in. Chef Matthew has not forgotten. So just be patient. And it might take an extra moment or two to get it, but you will get it. So welcome back. Hey, here we are in week 10. And in the restaurant industry, we have something called short timers disease. Short timers disease is when you've given your notice and you're about done. And so you really slack off. And it's really important that in this course, you are just beginning. And you need to remember that the more and the harder you work now, the easier your next course is going to be. And the easier your next course is going to be, the more successful you're going to be in industry. So keep that passion alive. Remember why you're here. Keep moving forward. Ask a lot of questions. Get into it. Suck it up. Take advantage of this opportunity because this opportunity is the one that catapults you into the future. So stick with it. And I know Chef Matthew had some valuable advice, and I like the way that he compared it earlier today.
Yeah, well, Chef had made a note, finish strong, and I have an experience with that from a restaurant I worked in years ago. The chef always said, finish strong, everybody, come on. It'd be the end of the night, and he'd say, come on, finish strong, and we'd be like, yeah, whatever. I'm tired. It's been a long day. You know, let's close down and go home. But when you think about it, it wasn't a couple years later till I really hit me what he was getting us to think about was if we would prepare ourselves for the next day, just take a few extra minutes while you're closing down, pull something out to thaw, set a couple things together, put mise en place together for a recipe or two. When you come in the next day to work, you got stuff ready to go and you can get right on it and you're steps ahead. So when I think finish strong, I think, you know, here it is toward the end. I wanted to get 100% done. So I'm going to work that extra little bit harder. I'm going to push myself a little bit and make sure I get that extra done so that I'm really excited about my final steps and I've really made it to where I want to be. So and it really works in a kitchen. And Chef and I were talking about it earlier. When you get to the end of the night and you're whipped, nothing like setting yourself up for the next day. Yeah, it takes a little extra energy, but it is so worth it when you come in the next day and you are ripping ready to go. So. Yep.
Absolutely. It kind of all goes back to that old proaction before reaction type thing. And as we work into week 10, if any of you have any concerns regarding your grade, make sure that you reach out and you ask me and you talk to me about it. We are here to help you succeed. We want to see you succeed. So if you need some assistance with your grade, you're concerned about it, you're finding that you're not doing too well in the class, get a hold of me. Let's work something out. Let's see what we can do to help you. That's what we're here for. So Don't forget that our contact numbers are on the right-hand side of the class page, right where they've always been. And if you call, make sure you leave a message because we get inundated with calls. So you got to make sure you leave a voicemail sometimes because it's difficult for us to get back to everyone. So, hey, moving on to week 10, everybody. Exciting week. We are focusing on roasting this week, which is a pretty cool technique. Let's take a look at our class page here. Hopefully everybody got to see this great video here that was produced by myself. I did it all by myself, all 60 seconds, and I'm very, very proud of it. And then down here, your research materials are really important this week. So make sure that you read them and you learn them. Knowledge checks. I noticed the class backed off a little bit this past week on knowledge checks. It's really, really important that you stay in tune with those. Those little points are the ones that affect your grade. So make sure that you stick with your knowledge checks, finish it all the way to the end. We had quite a few people that I assume maybe got a little busy with the holiday, but don't let that trip you up at this point in time in the course. 2 knowledge checks due this week by Saturday, Saturday, Saturday. Make sure you get them turned in. Discussion, or the live session, thank you so much for all being here tonight. We really appreciate that. You are guaranteeing yourself success in the program by being here. And once again, if you're not, watch the live session archive, but you wouldn't know that because you wouldn't be here. And then discussion. We are working on a reflection this week about some of the vital things that we have learned over the past 9 or 10 weeks in this class. Make sure that you take a few minutes to fill that out really well. It's a really effective tool when it comes to remembering and learning things in culinary arts. So make sure that you fill that out really well. That is due by Saturday, please. And then our assignments down here, we're roasting whole protein. That protein happens to be chicken, doing a pan gravy, and then roasting some vegetables in the oven, which is one of my most favorite cooking methods. Roasting does some amazing things. Number one, stoves are oftentimes in short supplies in restaurants. I run restaurants with 16 burners, 20 burners, and it's amazing how all of them fill up so quickly. So utilization of your oven becomes very, very smart. You'll notice sometimes that you have people fighting over your cooktop and your ovens are all empty. You know what? Think it through, utilize all of your equipment. And so we're going to get into that tonight. And that's one of the things I love about roasting. Make sure you stay focused on the actual technique this week. Try not to deviate from the recipe. That happens in 121, your next course, and you'll have plenty of time to do that. So without further ado, let's get into roasting. All right? Okay, so roasting, to sum it up, is a dry cooking method. And really, we did braising last week where we cooked in a liquid. Roasting is basically cooking something uncovered in the oven, which is how to kind of define the technique. Let's answer some questions here real quick. Let's, Alicia, did you have a question?
Yeah, mine was going back to the discussion forum as far as the grades and stuff. I know those closed, and you said we have makeup assignments. Are those part of that? Can we use one of those for the makeup assignments?
No, you can't, but if you want to send me a message, we can talk about it. Alicia?
Yeah.
Send me a message, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Sharon, what's up?
I have a couple questions. The first one is, when I was going over the recipes for the week, I could not find the recipe for the gravy. Is it there? I just missed it.
I'd love to tell you yes to kind of mess with your mind, but it was not there, but it is there now.
Okay. And the other one is, we're supposed to use sweet potatoes for our roasted vegetable. Is white sweet potatoes okay? Does it make a difference?
No, it really doesn't. There's a couple of different factors, and you're kind of getting into the old yam sweet potato type argument. And there, just like everything else in life, there's more than one variety of sweet potatoes. And some varieties can be very blonde. Some varieties can be very orange. And oftentimes they're very regional. It depends on the soil. But what really is the big difference can be the sugar content that is located within the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, mind you, are considered to be the world's healthiest vegetable as far as vitamin and mineral content. So they're extremely healthy for you, very high in carbohydrates, and your body needs carbohydrates in order to function because the human mind operates off of complex carbohydrates, which so you desperately need. So the more orangish, traditionally, we think of as being lower in starch and higher in carbohydrates, whereas you get down to the whiter ones, they'll be a little bit higher in starch and lower in carbohydrates, but they're both work effectively for this assignment.
Okay, because my mother had brought me some over the holiday, and I had never used them before, so I'll be able to use them for this.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. You're
all
good.
right. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome. Jeffrey, what's up?
Actually, on the sweet potatoes, Bon Appetit, this month's issue had a great article on sweet potatoes.
Ah, cool.
Section on it. So that was reading that at the airport. But I just got done finishing reading The Soul of a Chef, that book, during the holidays. And I guess it's appropriate. They're always talking about the chefs. You guys turn, when you walk into the kitchen, you turn your ovens on full blast as like a standard practice. Is that, I mean, that's what they were doing in the book. And actually one of the chefs, when she was getting her CMC or whatever, she forgot to do that. What's the reason behind that? Is it just to bring it up to temperature? And then do they always cook at high temp like that? What's the?
No, they're referring to the ovens that are on the line.
Yeah.
And, we call those infernos. And first thing in the morning, you turn them to maximum. Last thing you do at night is turn them off.
How do you cook?
What's that?
How do you cook with that? With them being so hot like that?
Well, you have to realize those oven doors are opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing at a pretty fast pace during service.
Okay.
This is going to sound kind of strange, but once you start working on the line, it's going to be a bit like riding a bicycle. And all bicycles have their own nuances, and you're going to learn the touch and the feel. You're going to know that when you're first starting out your service at the beginning of the night, that oven's going to be pretty darn hot. So you're going to know that, hey, you're going to fire it a little bit later because it's going to cook a little bit quicker. But then as the night progresses, you know, that temperature in that oven is going to drop. Okay. So you're going to start firing the product sooner, getting it in there quicker, and leaving it in there longer. So you'll learn the flow of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as the other ovens are concerned, like our convection ovens and everything else, we'll set at a particular temperature when we come in, and they do operate all day long. There's nothing worse than waiting for an oven to heat up.
Yeah. So the Inferno, so I understand. So like if we were braising, we definitely wouldn't do a braising in the Inferno, right?
No, it's just for finishing food. For example, if I received an order for a pan-seared filet mignon, I'd sear it in my pan, then I'd just whip it into the Inferno and let it finish off in there.
Gotcha.
That way,
finishing.
a lot more stove space.
Gotcha. Finishing. Okay, I was wondering about that. They didn't explain it. They just said that she screwed up and didn't do it, and it messed her up in the competition.
Like on Friday nights or Saturday nights, I'll often work saute station, and I'll have like 10 orders of salmon, and I sear it, boom, throw in the accoutrements into the pan, boom, into the oven. And then I know, hey, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and it's just a flow of what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Good. All right. Lenora, what's up?
I have a question about this week's protein.
Sure.
We just had roasted chicken yesterday, so I was wondering if I could do game hen.
Like a Cornish hen?
Yes.
I'm fine with that, but you're not going to notice much of a difference between the chicken and the Cornish game hen, other than the size, and your recipe is going to be tweaked.
Yeah, my niece has never had it, so I thought it would be nice.
It's not. I mean, I'm fine if you want to try it, but for me, they're just kind of like an anorexic chicken. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the long and the short of it. Other than making a turducken,
Like
I don't know what to do.
They have their own whole chicken on the plate. It's kind of fun for kids.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, sure, go for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Amber, what's up?
I just want to say something about the butternut squash I saw in the chat. It's technically a fruit because it's receptacle. Technically speaking, it's a fruit because it's receptacle for the plant seeds, and so that's why but it's treated like a vegetable because it's complicated and weird like a tomato.
All right, we'll solve this argument right here, right now. Okay, so technically, according to horticulturists, if it's got a seed, it's a fruit, and if it doesn't, blah blah blah. And really, there's only real governing body that tells us what is and what isn't. That's the USDA. And the tomato, for example, was a big issue. And the reason those things become issues is because there's a variation of taxes between fruits and vegetables. And back in the 1800s, they used to consider tomatoes a fruit. And so they would receive a lower tax, but unfortunately, people were taking advantage of the system and utilizing, these Italians are going crazy with their tomato sauce, and they're paying less taxes. So the United States Supreme Court decided, I believe it was 1893, that tomatoes were actually a vegetable. So just like anything else in the United States, leave it to the court, and they'll tell you. So that's kind of long and the short of that.
So I always laugh because I live here in Indiana and people think corn is a vegetable, and it's a grain.
Yeah, it's grain.
Very starchy, so it's not a vegetable, not even close. So. But in the kitchen, honestly, we do treat it like a vegetable. So,
yeah, but it's a good point. It's something that you'll probably have these are the kind of things that we spend hours, debating over in the kitchen, and they oftentimes turn violent. That's a cook's mentality. So, we're a special breed of person. And then moving on to our roasting topic. Another big reason we like to use roasting and braising in the kitchen is when we receive a ticket, industry standards is probably about 10 to 15 minutes to get that dish into the window. So that means that we have to move awfully quick and we have to cook awfully fast, and not all the time, like beef short ribs, for example, you're not going to get done in 15 to 20 minutes. Boneless roasted chicken, you're not going to get done in 15 to 20 minutes. So roasting allows us the opportunity to prep a lot of dishes in advance. So I ran a casino for a number of years, and we did boneless half chickens, and we would roast half chickens, and then pull them out, bone them out, and then wrap them individually. And then when we got an order, we would sear it and then into the Inferno, and then boom, you would have your roasted chicken within 10 to 15 minutes. So that was fantastic as well. Another reason we like to use roasting techniques is because it really accommodates large volumes very, very easily. The vegetable that you're going to be doing this week, we will do 10 to 15 sheet pans that are 18 by 26 each for large functions. Big pans laid out with the vegetables, which allows us just to toss that pan into the oven a few minutes before our customers are going to eat. Frees up all the stove space and creates a nice caramelized effect on that vegetable. So that's another reason we do that. So when it comes to roasting, technically roasting is considered cooking in an oven, something that's uncovered. And temperatures are a big topic. Oftentimes we will start with a very ballistic temperature, like a 450, 500 degree, throw it in there, which sears the skin, and then we'll turn it down to like 350 to finish the product off. And that's the way this week's recipe goes. However, with red meats, a lot of times it's very, very different. How many people out there have had a steamship round or been at a buffet where they serve a prime rib? Julie down there has, and so with red meats that are very high in protein and very high in fat, oftentimes we will very slowly roast those meats, which prevents the proteins from shrinking rapidly and squeezing all of the moisture out of the meat, if that makes sense, right? Because what happens to a protein, when you cook it, it is like a pig's tail. Imagine a pig's tail straight, right? But when the protein gets hot, it begins to twist, twirl, and it ends up like a pig's tail. And that's why meats dry out when they cook. at high temperatures. So with red meats, we'll go very low and slow. Prime rib, we'll cook it at 225 degrees for 4 to 6 hours, depending on the size of the rib. If it's an export or if it's 15 up, then we'll even turn that temperature down a little bit further. Steamship rounds, I don't know if anybody's ever worked with those. I've cooked hundreds of them. That is something we use in the hotel industry for buffets. They weigh anywhere between 60 and 80 pounds per portion. That is something we'll cook right around 190, 200 degrees and leave it in the oven for up to 8 hours to get it fully cooked. So that is something. If you cover your item when you are roasting, then you're kind of braising, aren't you? Because you're trapping all that steam in there. So it's really not roasting. So you have to make sure that you avoid that. So, you know, like I mentioned, when you're doing large cuts of meat, even this does apply to poultry in some aspects, like turkeys and everything else, you have to be very, very conscientious of the temperature. Make sure that you go low and slow when it comes to that. So depending on the size of the actual bird or primal cut of meat, you're going to use a lower temperature to cook that piece of meat. It's very important. What about seasoning? Anybody think about that? Yeah. If I'm cooking a 20-pound prime rib, right, and I decide that I'm going to slow roast this prime rib to perfection and make it nice and moist, and if I sprinkle a little salt, cracked black pepper, rosemary, and you know, garlic on that, is it really going to affect the flavor of the meat on the inside? No, it's not. So there's a couple of different techniques that we use. We marinate or macerate, so to speak, and that's really applicable to poultry. I prefer to brine, and when it comes to brining, there's two primary types of brine that we use. One is a dry brine, which works extremely well for red meats. And it helps as it cooks, those pores and everything else open up, and it allows that flavor to seep into that meat and really give it a really nice seasoning. Dry or wet brines, which are generally comprised of salt and sugar and then your choice of flavoring. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio of sugar to salt. And then you could throw some chipotle in there, some chili mulato. Then you could add, you know, I've seen people add apricot, all these other types of things to their brine, and they allow their poultry to sit in there for a couple of hours. Pork goes really well in brine as well, and it really picks up that flavor. So seasoning, yeah, salt and pepper, yeah. Brining, especially dry brine on red meats, I think is much more effective. And then moving on, that we talked about the temperature, and we got to make sure the larger cut of meat or the larger cut of poultry, the larger bird, the lower the temperature. It's just a general rule of thumb. You do not want to blowtorch the exterior of your item and then have it raw on the inside. Something else with roasting, proteins. Proteins are extremely susceptible to carryover heat. And you have to remember, if you've roasted your prime rib and you need to serve it medium rare or rare on the line, if you pull it out rare or medium rare, while it sits, it's going to continue to cook, and you're going to end up with a medium to medium well prime rib. So you have to really learn to judge your cooking times. So for example, a place I ran, we would do 15 to 20 prime ribs per night. Very, very busy establishment. We would pull our ribs at 115 degrees, which is almost cool in the center. And by the time we got done holding them and got them up to the line and everything else, they would be about rare to medium rare. So remember, be conscientious of that carryover heat. And then the other, like Jeffrey was talking about in the Soul of a Chef cookbook, the oven. Where do we roast, right? And a lot of places have a double deck oven or a double convection oven set up, and that's what they use for their prep. And then a lot of other places will have both. And does everybody know the difference between conventional and convection? Julie does, Lorraine down there, yeah? Check it out, I'll let you know anyway, just because we care, right? So a conventional oven is what we would call a traditional oven, where the heat source is from the bottom and it rises to the top. And that's probably what most of you have at home. And then a convection oven is a oven that has its heat source on the bottom, but has a fan traditionally in the back that will circulate the air to create an even heat environment. So remember the difference between convection and conventional ovens. It's two very different things. So remember that. When it comes to roasting meats, my preference personally is a conventional oven because I like to go low and slow, right? So just remember that. And there's also something else, and this is kind of crazy, but conventional ovens are traditionally low and closest to the floor. So when it comes to getting large cuts of meat in and out of them, it's much more simplistic than it is pulling something from above your head down. So I know that's a crazy reason, but it works. Convection ovens will have a tendency to burn or to roast the exterior of the item much quicker. So be careful of that. Am I missing anything, Chef Matthew?
No, you nailed that one. Just that you may have left out that it'll save your back from picking those big roasts up into the higher ovens. Also, when those like I've pulled trays out of ovens before that have 3 or 4 prime rib on it, and there's juice in there that's going to run all over you. So it's almost impossible to get that out of an oven that's up high. You've got to get that out of a low oven. So,
yep. Number one way to save your back in the kitchen is to make sure that your cutting board is scoot all the way to the front. And you have to remember that a lot of you guys, when you're first starting out, you're working quite a few hours in the kitchen. And if you're slouched over while you're working or you're not bending over properly, man, you're going to be hurting pup. And it's something that took me probably about 10 to 15 years to figure out because I'm a little slow, but it did happen. Moving on to our next subject, right? How many people out there have trussed a chicken before? And I'm not talking about sharing your deepest secrets with it. Not trust, but truss. Yeah? Some of you have? Cool. It is a very important technique. And basically the reason why we truss chickens is the cavity on a chicken can be quite large and quite open. And that hot air gets in there and it cooks the chicken breast very quickly because the chicken breast is only about that thick. It's getting heat from the outside. It's also getting heat from the inside. So trussing the chicken will actually help close that cavity up, which will help create a much more moist chicken breast for you as well. Another reason we truss chickens too is for spit roasting or rotisserie roasting. I used to do a couple cases of chicken a day, truss them to get them ready for the spit. So it's a very, very important technique. Let's take a look at a couple of examples of trussing here. So can everybody see that? Yeah? Okay. And you know, a lot of people, you know, there's always that old debate to wash or not to wash, you know. You know, it's not a good idea to have your chicken sitting in a lot of cloudy juice that stinks. So, you know, if that's the case, you should wash it. If your chicken is sitting in liquid, it's probably not the best thing in the world anyway, so you might want to check where it comes from. Wash it, most definitely. But if you receive fresh, clean birds that are not sitting in liquid, it's not always necessary to rinse them. Because you know you do run the risk of removing some of the fat and some of the flavor from that chicken, and I don't like that. If my bird's in good shape, you know, it's good. Leave it alone. You know. So what we're going to do when we're going to truss, you're going to take a piece of cloth twine, cloth string. It's butcher twine is also another common name for it, and you want to cut yourself a long piece. When I say long, anywhere from 24 to 30 inches. Give yourself plenty of string to work with. It's very, very important. Make sure that your chicken is dry. It's not slipping all over the counter. Like this picture here is in a bowl, which is great because it does prevent the flow of bacteria and any type of cross-contamination. First thing you're going to do, you're going to grab the bird's wings and you're going to tuck them behind the bird's back, right? Just think of yourself putting your hands behind your back, right? That's what you're going to do. You're going to put your hands behind your back. And then you're going to take a pretty good length of that twine, and you're going to pull the legs basically together, right? So you're closing them up, right? And you're gonna wrap it around a little bit, and then you're gonna come up underneath the legs, just like this picture right here. Okay? So this is wrapped, and then both ends of the string. One came up this side, one came up that side. Everybody understand that? Okay. So after you've done that, make sure that you bring the twine up properly on the exterior of the legs. Very, very important. You're going to crisscross. You're going to pull the string to the back. You're going to flip the bird over, and you're going to do crisscross on the back of the chicken. And as you're crisscrossing, imagine with your hands behind your back, they brought up string between your legs, and then they wrapped it around your stomach area, right? Okay, and they're holding your arms back. So you're going to flip the bird onto its breast, crisscross the twine on its back, flip the bird upside down once more, and then you're going to bring that twine to the front, and you're going to tie it off in the very front. Does everybody understand that? And yes, my phone number is 520-276-6281. And don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I'm having a struggle here. I need a little help. So don't worry about that. Alicia, what's up?
Oh, just I had a question when you were saying about marinating the chicken and stuff.
Sure.
I know they say it's 30 minutes to an hour before cooking, or a day, I think. Does it go bad of how long you marinate it?
It does and it doesn't. And one of the biggest factors when it comes to marinades, a lot of time people like to put acids in there. Acids will force those proteins to curl and excrete moisture. And a lot of times people will put high levels of sodium or products that contain sodium into the marinade, such as soy sauce or just plain kosher salt. And that's going to over macerate into your meat and make it too salty. So basically our rule of thumb is about 12 to 16 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okie doke. Julie Montgomery. What's up, Julie?
Chef, I understand that I want to know if it's the same premise, the same rule that goes for all proteins regarding salting them before roasting, such as eggs. If I salt my eggs that I'm going to use a big scramble the following morning for an event, right? If I salt them like 12 hours ahead of time or wait until after they're done, I don't get water. Is that the same premise for roasting meat, red meat, and birds? Does it go all the way across the board for roasting?
Yes and no. Once again, okay. When it comes to the eggs, you never want to salt your eggs until they're actually in the pan. The reason for that is the sodium will force a breakdown. For example, if you're doing a 5-gallon bucket of scrambled eggs, right. You're running it through a China cap and everything else. You got it all prepped out for your banquet tomorrow morning. Do not season it until it gets into the I assume you're probably using a tilt skillet or something to cook them. But right. If you want, next time you have 2 buckets, put salt in one, leave the other one alone. The one that you don't add salt to will be nice, thick, yellow, bright yellow, looking good. The one that you do add the salt to will have like an off orangish, liquidy type appearance to it. What's that?
A food scientist approached me and was showing me that in my pan, when I added them while they were cooking, she said, never add that salt to the protein while it's cooking because you toughen up these curds. Add it after it comes out, or add it like 24 hours ahead. So I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm going to try that. I'm going to actually try it at home first. 2 different buckets. One has salt, one has none, and see if I get water on the plate and the softness of the curds.
Tell her to stay in the lab. Right? All I can do is talk to you from experience. Yeah.
Right.
I
need you.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate what she's saying, and she might have some reasoning behind that. And my guess would be it would toughen the exterior of the protein. more than anything. And oftentimes when you're roasting meats, you're not going to have a delicate exterior in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it now. Okay.
Yeah, especially when it comes to red meats, the exterior is going to be tough, and that's just the ramification of roasting. So remember that. Let's take a quick gander at our recipe this week for our first recipe that we're going to be working on. And yes, we did go through it. And yes, it is good. I think. I hope. Yeah. If not, we'll receive a few calls. Yeah. And I apologize. They redid a lot of our recipes for us this block, and so a lot of things got changed. Okay, so this is our recipe for our chicken this week. This is our roasted protein. We're going to be working on with a 3 to 3.5 pound chicken. Do your best to find a 3 to 3.5 pound chicken. I know a lot of you in the grocery stores are going to run across 4 to 5 pound birds. That's fine. If that's all you get, just go for it. And then make sure that you remove the giblets from the cavity of the chicken. You don't want that. Check in there, make sure nobody lost a ring or a watch or anything. Pull everything out of that cavity. You're going to season the inside of the chicken with salt and pepper, and then you're going to truss the chicken. Remember, tie the legs together tight. Bring the strings up and around the legs. Tuck the wings in the back. Take the string, cross it over in the back, bring it around to the front, and then tie those legs together with a knot. That's all it takes. Rub the outside of the chicken, a little oil or butter. I prefer butter. I think it has better flavor. Season the skin with salt and pepper. And then for this recipe, you're going to be putting a little bit of mirepoix into your pan because we are making a pan gravy. And then you're going to start that chicken. We talked about this a few minutes ago. You're going to start that chicken at 450 degrees, which is going to sear that chicken. And then you're going to turn it down to about 325 and let it go low and slow to finish off. When the chicken has been in the oven 45 to 60 minutes, you're going to turn it breast side up and let it finish cooking. Basting during the cooking process is very, very important. Not only does it provide that nice sheen, not only does it enhance the flavor, but it also helps keep the bird nice and moist. The recipe's saying about an hour and a half, and I think that might be a little bit on the long side. Your primary concern right now is to stick the thermometer into the joint where the leg attaches to the carcass and ensure that bird is up to 165. Okay, 165 degrees.
Yep.
Something I forgot to mention that this is kind of cool. In restaurants, we do a lot of what is called barding and larding when it comes to roasting. Barding is the technique where you place additional fat on the exterior of the meat. Traditionally with red meats or pork, we'll wrap a pork loin in bacon. We'll take fat cap from another top round and place it on top of a prime rib to add that additional fat and basting it as it cooks. Larding is where you take a large needle and you inject it into the meat to provide additional flavoring. You can inject brine. Here in Arizona, being so close to the Mexican border, we'll use a variety of different mezcals with pineapple juice or tequila with pineapple juice and inject that into drier poultries such as turkey or chicken. So that is another technique. So the big focus this week, just make sure you get that chicken to 165 degrees, which is the big cooking temp. Here we go, folks. Pan gravy. And the recipe is there. Chef Matthew's all over that one, isn't he?
Oh, I'm a gravy kind of person.
Yep. Real simple. Pan gravy. Remember this always. Wherever you go, whatever you do, always remember this because so many young culinarians screw this up. Okay? A gravy or a sauce is meant to enhance the flavor of what you are serving it on. Okay? Do not add HYQZPQ to your gravy and sauce. That will dominate the flavor of the dish. If that is the case, why would I pay $50 for filet mignon and then have somebody put this sauce over there and all I can taste is the sauce, right? Sauces and pan gravies are designed to enhance the flavor of what you're serving, not to dominate the flavor of what you're serving. Does that make sense? That's a very young, let's answer Amber's question here real quick.
You probably think I'm the world's biggest pain in the butt, probably.
No, not at all.
Okay, I was listening to this, I can't remember the name of the show, but I think it was Food Network's biggest next cook Food Network star or something. I can't remember. But I remember correctly that I think it's only for marinade though, but I'm not 100% sure. I just want to ask you since you're professionally trained. Like if you don't, like the girl apparently like saying, oh, you can use the marinade as a sauce. I done marinating raw meat with it, but I'm like, wait, they were making pan gravy. It's probably yeah.
Yeah, no. Don't believe everything you read in Wikipedia, and don't really believe everything you see on the Food Network. Yeah, because a lot of times it can be a little bit skewed, because you have to remember the Food Network is about sensationalism, and they're about selling advertising is what their job is, and their job is not to inform you about food. Their job is to entertain you. And entertainment sells advertising, and that's what their job is. So, no, I'm not knocking everybody on the Food Network, and I don't think everybody's bad on the Food Network, but just be conscientious about what you see, because it's not always, you know.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, because I was watching it. It was like a couple years ago or something, and even the chef was like, you can't do that because it's really dangerous for you to do that. You can't tell people, oh, don't do that. Do that.
Yeah, do not marinate your raw meat in your sauce that you're going to serve. You have to remember, ladies and gents, in the industry, we make sauces. We do not make sauces rarely the day of. We'll make 4 or 5 gallons to last us a week, or 150 gallons to last us through a banquet, or whatever the case is. So, generally they're prepared in bulk. Not only does it make it more efficient, but it makes it a lot more consistent that way as well. So. Let's take a look at our recipe for pan gravy. Chef Matthew, you have any concerns about pan gravy?
No, just that I guess make sure, I guess kind of going back to when you clean off the chicken, make sure you pick the liver and stuff out, because if that ends up in your pan gravy, it kind of gives it a foul taste. Haha. So I just always make sure I get all that stuff out of the inside of the bird.
Okay, absolutely, yeah. So you're basically, you got to gather all your mise en place. You're going to heat your fat over moderate heat, because you're going to be making a roux. So you're going to have equal portions by weight of flour and fat. Okay, by weight, flour and fat. And then you, when you get done cooking your chicken, you're going to have quite a bit of fat that's in the pan. That's where the fat is coming from. You have to render the fat. When we say render the fat, we're talking about removing all of the moisture from the fat. The way we do that is we'll put that fat over low heat and allow all that moisture to evaporate and bubble out of there. Once that's done, you're left with just fat. Be very careful. You can get yourself burned easily. Don't walk away. That stuff can catch on fire, so take it very seriously. You're going to take that reserved fat from your roasted chicken, and over medium heat, you're going to mix it with equal parts fat and flour by weight and make your roux. Then you're going to add your stock, preferably warm stock, and you're going to whisk it to dissolve your roux. And then you're going to season with salt and pepper, and you're going to celebrate, because it's going to taste absolutely fantastic, because that mirepoix is going to flavor, and it's going to taste really good. Yeah. So, and it's simple. You have to remember that sauce is going to enhance the flavor and complement the flavor of the chicken. And if that's what you've done, you've nailed it, right? So moving on to our next subject here, and final subject of the night, roasted vegetables. This is, like I mentioned earlier, something we do frequently in hotels. I can have a cook on Wednesday prep out 10 sheet pans of roasted vegetables for a party on Friday, and I don't have to worry about it, right? This week, we're working with butternut squash. Generally, we like to work with heavier, more fibrous vegetables because they will break down in the oven. Do not pre-season them. That is bad. And the reason we don't pre-season the vegetables is because the sodium breaks down the vegetable fibers and forces the moisture to come out, right? So you will have very dry vegetables if you pre-prepare them. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure you season when they, with the salt right before they go in the oven is perfectly fine, but not much before that. This is also a great technique for those of you that have are thinking about working in smaller cafes and smaller restaurants. You can take half sheet pans, prep it out early in the day, and then when you get into service, you have an order. You pop that, you roast those vegetables, you put it into your steam table, you feed 10, 15 people, pop another pan in, feed 10, 15 people, and you've got great vegetables all night. This week, like I said, we're working with a butternut squash. However, vegetables such as zucchini, cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus, green beans, a lot of that stuff you're going to want to pre-blanch. And when I say pre-blanch, you're going to drop it into boiling water for about a minute or two until it's about halfway cooked. Pull it out, cool it, and then you can roast with it. Does everybody understand that? You want to bring, what you're doing is you're softening it, but you're also bringing the chlorophyll to the surface of the vegetable. You want that nice dark green appearance on your food when it goes out. Let's take a look at our recipe here. Hopefully everybody can see that. We're going to sweet potatoes, large dice, butternut squash, peel it, let me give you guys a little hint here. Butternut squash is a very hard vegetable and can oftentimes lead to cuts in the kitchen. So I highly recommend you cut the ends off of the vegetable first, right? And then stand it up so then you have a stable vegetable. It's not rolling around anymore. And then you peel the sides with your knife and then cut the vegetable in half and scoop out the interior.
Yeah.
Does that sound good, Chef Matthew?
Yeah, that's good. That one's dangerous because it's hard and it's round and it just wants to roll on you. So. Yep.
So then you're just gonna bake the vegetables in the oven after you toss them with the oil, salt, and pepper. With this dish, there is a lot of fun stuff you can do. I generally do onions, garlic, whole chilies, and toss them in a little bit of whole butter, olive oil, and then I'll hit the pan with just a touch of chicken stock because you're going to get that little steamy effect going in there. And then you're going to roast them and caramelize them and pull them out. Your people go crazy over them. And then when they come out, sprinkle your whole sheet pan with like Asiago cheese and then put it into your service pan, and they're going to get that nice chewy flavor. Asiago cheese is very high in monosodium glutamate, naturally occurring, makes the flavor pop in those vegetables, makes it absolutely delicious. Yeah. Let's take a look at our weekly assignment here to see what's going on. Make sure that we are all on the same page. Yeah. Hopefully nobody can hear my 7-year-old son crying in the background.
You hear my kids running up and down the stairs and throwing each other into the wall?
My son is not a big
They're girls.
Yeah. He does not like homework. He's not happy right now. Yeah. So moving on to our rubric this week. We have roasted whole protein and pan gravy. We went through that recipe pretty thoroughly. You're going to need to show a picture of your trust chicken, not trusted chicken. This is not your banker. Your trust chicken protein roasting thermometer showing the proper doneness. We talked 165. That's very, very important. Then you want to show your simmering sauce, your spoon showing the finished consistency, and finished plate and plated protein. Pretty simple. Roasted vegetable, large dice. Make sure you lay that up against a ruler. 3/4 by 3/4 by 3/4 is your dimensions on that. Seasoned and then finished plated vegetable. And yes, Chef Matthew's favorite part, the neck.
I'll be reasonable on that vegetable too, because I know like an acorn squash, you're not going to be able to dice that very well. You're going to get all kinds of shapes, and I know with butternut too and carrots, they're big at one end and smaller at the other. So I'm reasonable on that.
Angelica's here. That makes me happy. Hi, Angelica. I didn't see you hiding in there. Yeah. I'm so happy to see you here. That's awesome. Hey, and so that pretty much covers our information. What type of questions do we have? Anyone? Thoughts? Concerns?
Hey, try this roasted vegetable if you guys want to try something different. Red radishes. I had them years ago, and it kind of blew my mind. I'm not somebody that'll eat red radishes at all. And then place I was at for dinner had them, and they had a little vinaigrette drizzled over them after they were roasted, and my mind was blown. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Never would have thought. Never would have thought. Yeah. It's also a great way to clean out your walk-in. Yeah. You ever have some vegetables that just aren't looking too happy? Boom, roast them.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Yeah, they'll be awesome. Hey, Alicia. What's up, Alicia?
Yeah, if you don't have a rack from the roasting pan, I hear they say lay it on top of the mirepoix. I can't say that word.
Mirepoix.
Yeah. Once it cooked down, doesn't it cook that bottom too? Doesn't it start to cook it, or?
Yeah. Those vegetables will soften, and they'll cook in the actual renderings from the chicken. You don't need a rack. Just put the chicken right on top of the mirepoix.
So just like happy. Pile it up under it, or?
What's that? Yeah. So the chicken, you're gonna take your pan, your oven pan, put your chicken in there, and then put your mirepoix in there, and then put the chicken on top of the mirepoix.
Okay.
Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah.
How about Lahoma? What's up, Lahoma?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Lahoma.
Uh-oh.
I forgot what I was going to say. I'll get back to you. No, it was about that Asiago adding all of that stuff to your vegetables. Is there anywhere that you have that posted?
No, but you can certainly shoot me a message and I'll help you out with that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
These are a lot of the stuff I talk about. It's just stuff I've done over the years in the industry.
Yeah, it sounded delicious. So I'm very interested in trying that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We like to use a lot of cheeses in the restaurant, from Parmesan to Asiago to Tagliatelle, or not Tagliatelle, but to Tagliatelle. And the reason for it, cheeses are naturally high in monosodium glutamate, and they really help pop the flavor of other foods.
Okay.
Like Parmesan cheese, for example. Rarely do you eat Parmesan cheese for dinner by itself, right?
No, it's not all that by itself.
Hey, I'll have a plate of Parm. Right? Hey, but Parmesan cheese in association with another food is fantastic, and that's because it's popping the flavors out.
Okay.
That's what.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Andy, Delise, Lauren, anybody? No? Delise got all shy down there when I said her name. She was blushing. Yeah, she's blushing.
I have a question.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. When I did the last assignment, weekend or for the receipt, it's a gyros for the four people, but we can make the half or something because it's only by myself, so it's a too much risotto only for me.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. Si puedo. Hey, just make sure that you let Chef Matthew know that you're doing a half recipe, and then he'll help you out. Okay?
Yeah, no worries. That's okay.
We don't want you wasting food. That's not necessary. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Daniel, Julie, Royce, anyone else? Ladies and gents, please remember Chef Matthew and I are here at your service to help you out and help you succeed. If you have concerns about your grade, or if your grade's not looking too hot, you're probably going to hear from me this week, so get ready. We want to help you out is what our goal is, because we want to see you succeed. So please feel free to give us a call. 520-276-6281 is my number. Chef Matthew's phone number is on the right-hand side of the class page, and he'll be glad to pick up and talk to you all day long. Other than that, fantastic live session this evening. Everybody get some rest. We look forward to seeing you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.